Well, we're here with Nick Matthew in the background, the familiar sounds of people playing squash, because that's what you do, and you'll be doing that very shortly here in London. So, start of a new year, and where are we in the life of Nick Matthew right now? Let's start with, what ranking are you? Because you go up and down like a yo-yo.
Yeah, the rankings change very rapidly. I'm ranked world number 2 at the moment, so I've actually stayed the same ranking for the last few months. People have been moving backwards and forwards around me, but I've stayed at number 2, so I've been consistent, shall we say, but not quite consistent enough to get to the top position at the moment.
Well, you have a pretty consistent career so far, Nick. Twice world champion, 3 times British Open champion, which you achieved in 2012. Am I right in saying the first person in professional sport, professional squash, to be 3-time British Open champ? First Englishman. Okay.
But some of the greats, Jahangir Khan won 10 British Opens, for example. So
you're only 7 behind.
Only 7 behind. I might have to go into the over 40s category to win those ones if that counts towards my tally. I'm 32 now, so you said where am I in my career? I'm closer to the finish than I am the beginning, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you're a few years left in you yet, is it there? I mean, we've got the small matter of the Commonwealth Games. Next year now, 1 year away, you're defending champion, and it's in Glasgow, which is as close to home as you'll get.
Yeah, definitely. Commonwealth is massive in the squash calendar, probably our pinnacle without us currently being Olympic sport. 2013 is a massive year for squash. Trying to gain Olympic inclusion for 2020, the decisions are made this year, and then going forward, the Commonwealth Games in 2014, that might be a nice way to sign off from sort of major events in my career.
So at the moment, is it fair to say, even though you have obviously a World Open every year, the Commonwealth is probably, if you could win only one thing more, it will be the Commonwealth? Is that because it's the sort of the only time when the sport becomes sort of general interest?
I think so. I think it's sort of truly global event, the Commonwealth Games. Maybe unless you go to America, it's not so well heard of there, but it's truly global. I think it's the second biggest sporting event after the Olympics, in terms of multi-sport events. So massive for us. It's the time we get exposure outside of the confounds of the sport. So really big deal. Great way to sort of sign off a career, possibly.
So if your house caught fire, God forbid, up in God's county, which is Yorkshire, if you had one medal only to save, it would be?
Well, my Commonwealth golds are at the squash club, all safely.
Oh, okay.
So I can't say those, but
if your squash club burnt down,
I'd make sure I took my girlfriend out. I carried her out because she sleeps very heavily, so I'd have to maybe carry her out.
Right. And by the way, you say girlfriend?
Fiance, I should say.
Yes, that's something else that's happening this year, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Taking the leap of faith. Managed to propose this Christmas, and with it being Commonwealth in 2014, thought that summer was sort of out. So this summer now is the first opportunity we've got. So lovely Peak District surroundings that we have, fortunate enough to have around us, and that'll hopefully be a great setting. Just fingers crossed for the weather.
Lovely. Now you mentioned hopefully the Olympics in for 2020, by which stage you will be 40 years old.
Potentially commentator or coach, depending on where my career
Definitely
takes me.
Too late for you. Well, I suppose you'll still be happy to see it in the Olympics. No sort of slight frustrations at you've missed the boat by 1 or at most 2 games.
Yeah, there were massive frustrations. I did enjoy the Olympics. I got swept along by it, as everyone did. It was amazing, but there was always that tinge of disappointment and frustration that we weren't there. It was massive. Sort of every day, you loved it, but your heart was broken. I was exhausted after the Olympics purely because of my mixed emotions. But one day, hopefully, the sport will be there. Even if I'm not playing, we deserve to be there, and we're all responsible to help promote and push that, because that's a very sort of serious thing for the sport going forward in the future, and the kids, the next generation, everything.
You must have been chuffed to see your old pal from Sheffield, Jess Ennis, do so well though.
Yeah, I was in the stadium as well that night. So
that was the 45 minutes of 3 goals.
Yeah, I was in the stadium, so very privileged. Even though squash wasn't there, that was a good consolation.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about the British and English and the Commonwealth Games. Of course, let's be even more specific. Yorkshire, because it's tough being the best in Yorkshire in this sport, because you've got Mr. Willstrop, haven't you? And you two have been great rivalry over many years, and now you've got these pesky Egyptians. They've turned up, and it's really tough, isn't it?
It is
for everybody, them as well.
Like 2011, James was world number 1 for most of the year, so I was world number 2 and Yorkshire number 2 for the whole year.
Not even the best in your county.
Not even the best in my county. I'm the best in my city. You know, he's Leeds to me, Sheffield.
Okay. Oh, it's a real Sheffield v Leeds thing as well.
It is, yeah. So although they wind me up at my club that I've never won the club championship, so maybe I'm not the best in my club.
Okay, this is just getting worse.
Yeah, but like I say, the Egyptians they're coming up. A few of them are. Got a few years on myself and James as well. I think I'm 32, James is 30 this year. A few of the young Egyptians, hopefully by the time they come to their peak, I'll be long gone because it could get embarrassing otherwise.
Listen, very quickly, from the Steel City, Blade or Owl?
I'm an Owl.
So good to see them in the championship, but...
Good to see them in the championship, but we're languishing down the bottom at the moment, so we need to pick it up in the second half of the season.
And the other lot are doing very well in the league below.
There's
a danger of crossing over each other at the end of the season.
There's a danger of that. I've just started my own squash academy, and Sheffield United one of the supporters of that, so I'm getting ribbed by my friends in the city that I'm going to turn into a Blade, but my loyalties remain an Owl despite their support. Okay,
did they know that before they signed up?
They did, but they still been very supportive, so they're actually coming down to watch me this week, so looking forward to that.
Okay, well, you played the World Open in December. You're here in London at the World Series as well. It's just never ending for you guys. Did you have any time off at Christmas at all?
Yeah, I took 10 days off actually. Managed to enjoy it and drink too much, eat too much. So
you look annoyingly fresh, if I may say so.
There's been a bit of a whistle stop sort of week of training to get me ready for this. So we'll see what happens. Everyone's going to be in the same boat, so we'll see when we get on court.
And if we speak this time next year, in an ideal world, what would have happened?
Well, I'll be married, hopefully. She'll turn up on the day, that's a start. You get to a point in your career where you don't just look at squash, you're looking at sort of life in general. Hopefully I'll set up a few things for my career going forward, and then in squash, I'll be happy if my career ended tomorrow. I could go out on a high, but if I could sneak maybe one more Worlds, it's in Manchester this year, the British Open's in Yorkshire in Hull. One of those two would be a great sign-off too.
Fantastic, and of course the Commonwealth next year, and of course Wednesday to stay up.
Wednesday to stay up, should have mentioned that, but that's might be out of my hands, that one.
Okay, alright, well, all the best.
Thanks, Ian. Cheers.